You've sat down with the appraisee, you've asked them what they feel about an area of performance. Okay. Now, you could ask them on a positive element of performance, a neutral element of performance, or a negative area, one area you'd like to change. If you're going to respond, there are numerous ways to respond, but we find that the 4-quadrant response is a good thing for you to think about. When responding to an appraisee, be sure that the appraisee understands and accepts the message you're trying to communicate. You want the appraisee to be defensive and emotional towards your comments. You want a win-win appraisal, and to get a win-win appraisal you need to be sensitive to what you say, how you say it, when you say it. Listed below are 4 situations which can occur during a win-win appraisal. Now remember, golden rule with giving feedback, remember, praise the good behaviour result, criticise the non-productive behaviour result. Don't praise the person, don't criticise the person because they can take it personally and react in that sort of light. Let's assume the 4 areas are: you agree with the employee's positive comments. So if you ask the appraisee what they think and they give you a positive response, you say, yep, I agree with you. You agree with the employee's negative comments. Say you're on an area of poor performance, you say, how do you feel you've done on that? And they say, well, I could have done better. And you say, well, okay, I can see that there is area for improvement on that, and let's see what we can do. So you're not saying, yeah, I agree, I've done badly on that. You're saying, yes, we can move forward on that. Okay? You disagree with an employee's negative comments, and that's an interesting concept there. Now, this happens when you feel the employee has done okay, an acceptable level of performance or a good level of performance, but they don't consider their performance as particularly good. They might have somebody who assesses their performance in this particular area and feels, I could have done better, or is very self-critical about that. I set myself a standard and didn't achieve it. You, as an appraiser, should necessarily, if you disagree with it, say, no, I actually disagree with your opinion on that. I think you've done very well. I'm very pleased with it. And I'll tell you why. You need to obviously give some facts and evidence as to why you disagree with somebody's performance. Reason for doing that is you actually want the appraisee to see that you are taking a balanced viewpoint, and you can see that the good points from their appraisal, but you've got to back it up with credible evidence, because your perception of their performance is good, they may not still believe you, because their perception is their reality. Your reality is your perception, and the two perceptions may not be the same. And the last one, you disagree with the employee's positive comments, i.e. they've graded or rated themselves much higher in a particular area than you would have given them. Okay, I think I've done brilliantly on this, I've done really well on this, or that's an area that I've got no problems with whatsoever, or I don't need to change. So you may need to disagree with her. If we look at the dialogue, it says, let's assume you're appraising one of your managers. Robert has worked for you for nearly 3 years, has been a manager for the last 10 months. He responds to your first question with the following dialogue. Well, I think I've done well taking the team forward. They're pretty demotivated when I took over, but the one-to-one meetings helped to discover what they needed to do the job better. I do feel that I could have done better, though. I feel I still need to be more organised, because I felt things slipping when we were behind my Thompson project, which led to the problems I had with Sue when she thought I wasn't giving her enough support. I'm glad we sorted that out. Otherwise, we wouldn't have hit the target, hit the 3 main objectives by over 9%. Overall, we've done okay, but could probably do better. What do you think? Now, that's where somebody might come out with that type of element of self-analysis over what they've done over the year. You feel Robert has done a good job, and you think he has been hard on himself about his organisational skills, although he is very thorough. That's not a very thorough sentence there, is it? However, he has missed his 3rd quarter target and was under 80% on one of his objectives. So he's come about by saying he's hit 3 targets he hasn't, and he said hit the main target by 9%, he was 80% on one of his objectives. How do you respond in that situation? Obviously, what you're going to do is if you feel he's done a good job overall, you're going to disagree with some of the comments he's made about putting himself down at the beginning. I feel I could have done better, even though he's done quite well on the first part of it. So you could disagree with that. Well, I think you've done much better than you actually consider on that area of that. Remember, you had to take over a demotivated team, and I think you're putting yourself down on there. Okay. You could agree with some of the negative comments if you feel that the disorganisation could have been better. You could disagree with his comments in terms of his target achievement as well. Actually, on that last part of it, I would have to disagree with that. You say you've hit that target by 90%. The figures actually show 80% on that. Now, you can show your evidence. You can actually give them the factual evidence to back up your point of view on this as well. So the ways in which you can react and relate to somebody's perception of their own performance. If you are able to react accordingly to somebody's performance, again, it sets a framework where the person can see you being open and can see that the criticism that they're receiving is constructive. And it builds a nice framework for future constructive criticisms that you want to develop. If somebody sees that you're just there to kick them, then before they walk in, they build up a defence mechanism. And the last thing you want is actually somebody with a defence mechanism before they walked in, because you have to do an awful lot of work to actually get them to open up. One of the key ways we talked about earlier, if you remember, we talked about in terms of defence mechanisms. If somebody is talking to if you're talking to somebody and I was walking over to TV, I was going to change the video to explain the point there, and the point I was just making has gone straight out of my mind. I'll leave it on the point, and I'll come back to that point later on, because I'll remember in about 5 minutes' time. But the point I was making... I was just talking about defence mechanism. If a person walks in thinking that they are going to be shouted at, criticised, kicked, or whatever, then they build up that barrier, and you've got to take that barrier down. And there's lots of things you need to be able to think about in relation to that. How you come across, what you say, how you say it. I'm going to show you today's video. This is a good video because it talks about the element of, in a funny sort of way, it goes through the elements of what we call self-critique, getting people to open up. I'll show you the video. In some ways slightly similar to the one we saw earlier, but this is one of the funnier ones. This is the one with Dawn French, and she's going to be appraising a member of staff. It's quite a famous video. I don't know if anybody has seen this before. I'm going to stop it after the first instance. There'll be a talk over. When we discuss it, there'll be a talk over, and then what we'll do is I'll show you the talk over and what she decides to do with her behaviour later on. But you'll see the area of where she's making mistakes to start off with, and quite crucial mistakes as well.
Encourage them to talk about it. Probe with open questions and listen